Riccardo is arguably everyone's favourite Aussie, okay, maybe behind Kylie Minogue, but in F1 terms, he's not only everyone's favourite Aussie driver, but most people's favourite driver in general. The F1 world lost a character when the Honeybadger was confirmed as a reserve driver for the 2023 season, and many fans have been wondering when the Aussie will return. Well, his return to the F1 racetrack may be closer than we all thought. Want to know who the Aussie is set to replace and if this move will suit him? Well, stick around to the end to find out. Let's be honest, I don't think many fans were happy that Daniel was going to be a side character rather than a main character in F1, and to make matters worse, we lost Vettel as well. With the two characters leaving the sport, you would have hoped that the current drivers would pick up the baton. Still, it hasn't really been the case, with many fans looking for characters on the track. Right now, we are having to deal with Sir Jackie Stewart retrieving Roger Federer for Martin Brundle. Okay, that was somewhat entertaining, we admit. Now, at Ricciardo's new role at Red Bull, as well as being the reserve driver, he is also expected to do media duties with the Red Bull team, hoping to use his charisma to further the brand and help the team expand its footprint. I mean, they didn't become the most prominent energy drink company in the world by not knowing how to market. And with Daniel, they've struck gold as he is brilliant with the media. Now, if you were to ask Daniel what he wants to be doing, it is to be behind the wheel, racing around the track. And with the Red Bull current car being so dominant, he must be itching to get into it. And he will get the chance at Silverstone for the first time during a Pirelli tyre test after the British GP in July. He hopes to give the team something to think about as he targets a full-time return to the grid in 2024. I'm really enjoying this year and I think I'll continue to enjoy it, but by next year I think I'll certainly be eager to get back on the grid and compete. I feel like there is still some unfinished business. I'm continuing to do simulator. I'm going to jump in the car in July to get back behind the wheel. I'm sure that will really stimulate me and give me all those feels back. Naturally, I'm going to put a bit of pressure on myself for that and try to remind the team that I can still do it. We'll see where it goes, Ricciardo told Sky Sports. That is great for the Aussie, but as much as it's excellent to get in the car and around the track, he will really want the chance to race competitively and, in particular, going wheel to wheel with other drivers. With the options at Red Bull looking somewhat limited and both Max and Sergio Perez in sparkling form, the options at Red Bull may look limited. But there are not many teams that would take on the former McLaren man. However, ever since he has been the reserve driver for Red Bull, the F1 world has been running wild that Ricciardo will replace Sergio Perez, with the drama at the end of last season only adding fuel to the fire. But let's be honest, we are clutching at straws to think that Daniel will replace Sergio. The only way that might happen is when the Mexican driver leaves Red Bull, but by then Daniel will either have retired or found a team. Further good news for Daniel, though, is that Horner has said that Daniel is ready to go and looks like he could get in the car in an instant. I'd say he's about 10 minutes away from being ready. He's in good shape, he's kept himself fit and well. I think that he's training hard and he's ready to go given the chance. Daniel's just a positive energy to have around, and it's great to see him getting his mojo back. To see that big smile on his face, he lights up a room when he walks in, said Horner. Okay, so Red Bull is ruled out and most other teams are ruled out, so then where could Daniel be heading? Well, the answer is not exactly far away from Red Bull, with Jensen Button nailing it on the head in a recent interview. It's a tricky one. It's very unlikely he's going to be in a Red Bull. Both drivers are doing an amazing job, so that is very unlikely. But there's always Alpha Tauri as an option, isn't there? Sky Sports F1's Jensen Button said of Ricciardo's prospects. Now, get this, Alpha Tauri has not yet confirmed its driver lineup for 2024, but it does not look like Daniel will be looking to join the team in 2024. He could be joining the team this season, and he's most likely to replace Nyck de Vries. The AT04 is not very competitive and is probably not the best car you want to drive in your rookie season. Still, at the beginning of your career, you don't really have a choice. And with Yuki Tsunoda having claimed 2 points finishes and finishing 11th more times than we can remember, there isn't really an excuse for Nyck, in particular after his fine showing in the Williams last season. The Dutch driver's had a tricky start to his F1 career, being involved in several collisions and is one of 2 drivers without points so far. Now this is where you're starting to think this sounds a little far-fetched. Why would Alpha Tauri be looking to get rid of a driver with great potential and replacing him with Daniel Ricciardo? Well, the reason is points. Alpha Tauri is already under the microscope, with the team underperforming and far behind where it should be. We are pretty sure the hierarchy at Red Bull won't just let this slide by, as the team is, according to reports, costing more money to run than Red Bull's primary team. I mean, they have replaced Toast and have even, according to reports, turned down an $800 million offer for the team, so Red Bull means business. If you've been around F1 for a while, you will know that Helmut Marko is pretty ruthless. Some would say fair but ruthless, but generally the man doesn't hang around to be second best. If you're not performing, then you're out. And Red Bull has a reputation for being ruthless when it comes to driver decisions, with the likes of Alex Albon, Pierre Gasly, Daniel Kvyat and Brendan Hartley all experiencing some kind of demotion in recent years. De Vries could soon add his name to that list unless he manages to find a form quickly. According to motorsport.com, driver development program chief Helmut Marko has handed the Dutchman an ultimatum. Unless De Vries can raise his performance levels in the upcoming triple header of races in Italy, Monaco and Spain, he will be at serious risk of being replaced mid-season. If that happens, Red Bull reserve driver Daniel Ricciardo is likely to get the nod to return to the F1 grid. Now, most F1 rookies need patience in their early days on the grid, but they are rarely afforded such a luxury. Drivers on the Red Bull payroll are expected to deliver results from the get-go, and plenty have paid the price in the past for not living up to expectations. But before we all start writing Nyck off and thinking he can't make it in F1, he does have some good news heading his way, as one advantage for the 28-year-old De Vries is that he will now go to circuits he knows better. The previous destinations were largely unknown to him. At Imola, the former F2 champion has already made meters for the AlphaTauri team during a test, and in Monaco he had already finished on the Formula 2 podium once. However, Daniel Ricciardo will be a possible successor if the Frisian fails to convince Marko of his abilities. The Australian is in good shape at Red Bull, and the 8-time race winner has been spotted in Faenza and has reportedly had a seat fitted. However, not much should be taken from this. After all, Ricciardo is also the Italian racing stable's reserve driver and should be able to step into De Vries or Tsunoda's AT04 in case of an emergency. Now, the real question is, does Daniel being in an AlphaTauri make sense? If you're in Daniel's position, you would definitely consider it, as one thing the opportunity allows is a shop window for the 2024 season, with the Aussie being keen on an F1 return in 2023. But the same can be said that if he doesn't race well in the AlphaTauri, his reputation will be tarnished and he will not get the top seat he's looking for, and the former McLaren driver has come out multiple times to say that he only wants to drive for a top team. I still am at a point where it's not at any cost. It's not just to be back on the grid. A lot of the reason for taking this year off was that I didn't want to just jump back into a car, any car, just to be one of the F1 drivers. I want to be back with a top team, and obviously a team where I have my confidence back and my mojo, said Daniel. If you were Daniel, would you take the AlphaTauri seat? Comment below.